I'd been a member of my local gym for over a year. It was a safe, familiar place for me, a routine escape from work stress. Like clockwork, I'd go every evening after work, grab the same locker, and stick to my preferred machines. The regularity was comforting, but looking back now, I wonder if that's what made me such an easy target. It started on a normal Tuesday evening. I had just finished my workout and headed to the locker room to grab my bag. My locker door was slightly ajar, even though I was sure I had locked it. A wave of irritation hit me, but I assumed I'd been careless. Nothing seemed to be missing. My wallet, phone, and keys were all in my bag. Still, the thought lingered. Did I really forget to lock it? Or had someone opened it? The next night, I was extra careful. I locked my locker, tested it twice, and went about my routine. When I came back, the door was closed, but something felt off. My towel, which I'd tossed casually into my bag, was now neatly folded on top of it. My phone, which I'd zipped into a side pocket, was in the main compartment. My stomach tightened. Someone had gone through my things. I reported it to the front desk, but they shrugged it off. "Are you sure you didn't leave it like that?" the attendant asked, not bothering to hide their skepticism. I didn't press further. Maybe I was overthinking it. A few days later, it happened again. This time, my gym bag had been moved from its spot entirely. It was sitting on a different bench, zipped up tightly, though I'd left it open. My heart raced as I checked inside. Everything was still there, except my house key. I searched everywhere, the locker, the bench, even the hallway outside the locker room. It was gone. I reported the missing key to the staff, and they agreed to check the security cameras. The next day, they called me in to review the footage. It showed me arriving, locking my locker, and leaving with my bag. No one else had gone near it. The footage didn't even show my bag being moved. I felt a chill creep up my spine. If no one was caught on camera, how was my key missing? That night, I went home feeling uneasy. I changed my locks first thing the next morning, trying to shake the paranoia that someone might already have a copy of the missing key. I told myself it was over, just a bizarre coincidence, but then things started happening outside the gym. The first note appeared on my car windshield a few days later. I found it after my usual gym session, tucked under the wiper. It was a plain piece of paper with 4 words scrawled in uneven handwriting. "I know your routine." My hands trembled as I crumpled the note. My mind raced. Was this connected to the locker incidents, or was it something else entirely? I looked around the parking lot, scanning for anyone suspicious, but the lot was empty. I didn't sleep much that night. Every creak of my apartment felt amplified in the silence. I kept checking the locks, double-checking the windows, but nothing happened. The following week, the second note arrived. This time, it wasn't at the gym. It was on my kitchen counter. "You won't see me coming." I froze. My blood ran cold as I tried to piece it together. I hadn't left the note there, and I was certain I'd locked my apartment. The thought of someone entering my home while I was gone was suffocating. I called the police, but without any signs of forced entry or surveillance footage, there wasn't much they could do. They advised me to install cameras, which I did immediately. One covered my front door, another the living room, and a third pointed at my bedroom window. The cameras didn't catch much at first, but the notes kept coming. One on my bathroom mirror, another slipped under my apartment door. Each one was more cryptic than the last. "We're getting closer. Have you figured it out yet?" Then, one night, I heard it, soft tapping at my bedroom window. My apartment was on the second floor. I bolted upright, my heart pounding, and grabbed my phone to check the camera feed. Nothing. The tapping stopped. I sat awake for hours, gripping a kitchen knife and staring at the window. But nothing happened. When morning came, I checked the footage. At exactly 3:14 a.m., the camera facing my bedroom window cut to static for 30 seconds. When it came back on, everything was normal. The final straw came a week later. I had stopped going to the gym by then, hoping that cutting off my routine would make whoever was behind this lose interest. But it didn't work. I came home one evening to find my apartment door slightly open. The lock wasn't broken, but the door was ajar. My throat tightened as I pushed it open. The apartment was eerily quiet. On my coffee table was a photo. It was a picture of me at the gym, taken from a corner of the locker room. I didn't even realize it had been taken until that moment. Written on the back of the photo was the final note. I'm already inside. I don't remember much after that. I must have run out of the apartment, leaving everything behind. I stayed with a friend that night, too afraid to go back. When I returned the next day with the police, the apartment was untouched. There were no signs of forced entry, and none of the cameras had captured anything unusual. I moved out shortly after. I still don't know who was behind it, or how they did it. But every now and then, I catch myself looking over my shoulder, half expecting to see someone standing there just out of sight, watching. I used to work the overnight shift at a 24-hour fitness center in a small town just outside Chicago. Most nights were uneventful. The gym rarely had more than 1 or 2 people during the late hours, and by 2 a.m., it was often completely empty. I didn't mind. I liked the quiet. But one night, the kind of night I'll never forget, changed how I saw that job forever. It started off as an ordinary shift. The clock had just ticked past midnight, and only one man was in the gym. He was tall and wiry, wearing a hooded sweatshirt with the hood up, even though it wasn't cold. He wasn't working out, just wandering between the machines, pausing occasionally to look around. Something about him felt off, but I told myself not to judge. People had their quirks, and it wasn't my job to question them. I sat behind the desk, scrolling on my phone, occasionally glancing up at him. After about 10 minutes, he walked toward the far end of the gym where the free weights were kept. From my position, I couldn't see him anymore. I figured he was finally starting his workout. Another 10 minutes passed, and then the lights went out. Not just the lights in the gym, the whole building went pitch black. The gentle hum of the ventilation system stopped, leaving an oppressive silence. My heart started racing as I pulled my phone from my pocket, grateful for the flashlight. I shined it around, trying to get my bearings. "Hello?" I called out into the darkness. My voice echoed unnervingly in the empty gym. "Is anyone still here?" No response. My first thought was the man, but he hadn't checked out and I didn't hear the door. I assumed he was still in the gym somewhere. I remembered the power box was in the back storage room, near the locker rooms. As I made my way there, the beam of my flashlight swept over the rows of empty machines. The gym, so familiar under normal circumstances, suddenly felt foreign and hostile. The stillness was suffocating. "Sir?" I called out again. "If you're here, please let me know. I need to reset the power." Still no response. When I reached the storage room, I flicked through the breaker switches one by one. Nothing. The power wouldn't come back on. A sinking feeling settled in my chest, but I told myself it was just a technical issue. I decided to finish my shift in the dark if I had to. But first, I wanted to make sure the man wasn't still in the gym. It was policy to clear the building before closing up during a power outage. I moved cautiously through the equipment area, shining my flashlight between the rows of treadmills and weight machines. Then I heard it. A faint, metallic clink, like a weight being dropped. "Hello?" I called out, my voice trembling now. "Sir, the gym is closed. You need to leave." I followed the sound toward the free weights area, but when I got there, it was empty. My flashlight beam swept over the racks, but there was no one there. I stood frozen, straining to hear any other sounds. Then I noticed something odd. A single dumbbell was lying on the floor, out of place. I felt the hair on the back of my neck stand up. I hadn't heard anyone move. How had it gotten there? I spun around, half expecting to see someone behind me, but the gym was still empty. Or so it seemed. I decided to check the locker rooms next. They were the only other places someone could hide. I started with the men's room, walking in cautiously and calling out again. Nothing. The lockers and showers were empty. Then I headed to the women's locker room, hesitating before pushing the door open. "Sir, if you're in here, you need to leave," I called out, trying to sound authoritative, though my voice cracked slightly. The silence was unbearable. As I moved through the rows of lockers, I heard it again. Breathing. It was faint, raspy, and uneven, like someone struggling to inhale. My flashlight shook as I turned toward the sound, which seemed to be coming from the farthest stall. The door was slightly ajar. "Sir?" I said again, but my voice was barely above a whisper now. I took a step closer, then another. The breathing grew louder. My hand hovered over the stall door, trembling as I prepared to push it open. Suddenly, the door creaked inward on its own. The flashlight beam landed on two legs standing behind the door. They were pale and thin, wearing no shoes. My heart nearly stopped as I stumbled back, unable to make sense of what I was seeing. "Sir?" I croaked, but there was no response. I bolted from the locker room, my mind racing. I didn't dare look back. I ran straight to the front desk and grabbed the phone to call my boss. She didn't answer, so I left a frantic voicemail before dialing the police. While I waited, I kept the flashlight pointed at the hallway leading to the locker rooms. Every creak of the building made me jump. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, red and blue lights lit up the gym's parking lot. 2 officers entered the building, flashlights drawn. I led them through the gym, explaining everything. They searched the entire space, including the locker rooms, but found no one. The stall where I'd seen the legs was empty. Even the dumbbell I'd seen on the floor was back on the rack. The officers were polite, but clearly skeptical. They told me it was likely just a prank or my imagination running wild in the dark. I wanted to argue, but what could I say? There was no evidence. The next morning, my boss called me in to review the security footage. We watched the moments before the power outage, scanning for any sign of the man. But the footage showed something impossible. No one was there. Not me, not the man, not anyone. It was as if the gym had been completely empty all night. I left the job soon after. To this day, I don't know who or what I saw that night. But sometimes, late at night when I'm alone, I hear that same raspy breathing in my dreams, growing louder and louder until I wake up gasping for air. I joined a 24-hour gym a couple of months ago to get back into shape. It seemed like the last place you'd expect anything creepy to happen. But a few nights ago, I experienced something that still gives me chills. I prefer working out late at night when it's quieter. Most nights, I'd see the same handful of regulars. It was comforting in a way, seeing familiar faces, even if I didn't know their names. But that night was different. I was working on one of the rowing machines near the back of the gym, blasting music through my wireless earbuds. I always bring a small gym bag with me for my phone, a small towel, and a water bottle. That night, I'd left my bag next to the machine as usual. About halfway through my workout, I noticed my music started cutting out, the familiar sign that my earbuds were losing their connection. Confused, I paused and reached for my phone in the bag. But when I looked down, the bag wasn't there. Panic set in. I scanned the room, but the bag was nowhere to be seen. The gym was almost empty. There was a guy lifting weights by the mirrors and a woman doing stretches near the yoga mats. Neither of them looked suspicious. The only other person was the guy at the front desk, engrossed in his laptop. I approached the man by the weights, even though I felt awkward doing it. He was tall and muscular, with earbuds in and a scowl that made me second-guess talking to him, but I had to ask. "Hey, sorry to bother you," I said, "but did you see anyone grab a bag from over there?" He pulled out one earbud and gave me a sharp look. Number Y. "My bag's gone. It was right next to the rowing machine." He shook his head and turned back to his workout without another word. Annoyed, I moved on to the woman stretching. She seemed nicer but just shook her head, saying she hadn't noticed anything. Frustrated, I went to the front desk. "Hey, my gym bag's missing. Can you check the cameras?" The guy at the desk looked up lazily. "Sure," he said, clicking around on his computer. After a minute, he pulled up the footage and motioned for me to come around and watch. The screen showed the gym from a wide angle. There I was, rowing away, my bag sitting nearby. Then, about 10 minutes into the recording, a man walked into the frame. He wasn't working out. He was just walking around, glancing at the machines. He paused near my bag, looked around, and then casually grabbed it before walking toward the exit. I stared at the screen in disbelief. "Do you know him? Is he a member?" The employee frowned, rewinding the footage to check the entrance cameras. "Nope," he said after a minute. He didn't scan in, just walked right in. That's against policy, but I didn't notice. My stomach sank. This guy had been wandering the gym, taking whatever he wanted, and no one had noticed. I asked the attendant to call the police, but he shrugged. We'll let the manager know in the morning. Frustrated and helpless, I borrowed the front desk attendant's phone to call my best friend, Liam, to let him know what had happened and why I might not be reachable for a while. Hey man, it's me, I said. My phone got stolen at the gym. What? Wait, Liam interrupted, his voice shaky. Are you messing with me? No, I'm serious. Why? Because I just got a text from your number asking to crash at my place tonight. My blood ran cold. Liam, that wasn't me. My phone was in the bag that got stolen. What? He said, his voice rising. Wait, there's more. The texts sounded weird. Not like you. They asked me to leave my back door unlocked because they didn't want to wake me up when they came over. I felt sick. Please tell me you didn't leave it open. I did, but I'll lock it now. I'm checking my cameras. I told him to stay on the phone while he reviewed the footage. A minute later, Liam cursed under his breath. Oh my God, he whispered. There's someone in my house. What? Call the cops, I yelled. I will, but wait, it's the guy from the gym. I drove straight to Liam's house while he stayed on the line with 911. When I got there, the police were already on the scene, reviewing footage from Liam's security cameras. The video showed the man sneaking into Liam's house through the unlocked back door. He moved carefully, searching through drawers and taking anything of value. Then, chillingly, he went upstairs to Liam's bedroom. For about 15 seconds, he stood in the doorway, watching Liam sleep, before turning and leaving the house. The police took the footage as evidence and assured us they'd look into it. But weeks passed, and nothing happened. The thief was never caught. To this day, I double-check every lock, every door, and every window before I sleep. The thought of that man standing in Liam's doorway haunts me, and every time I go to the gym, I can't shake the feeling that someone might be watching, waiting for me to let my guard down again.